G'day and welcome to ReDriven. Now, look, I know what you're thinking. Can you even get a luxury car for under $15,000, let alone an underrated one? Well, the answer is yes, otherwise this video wouldn't exist at all. But there's more to this category than meets the eye. See, while the likes of the Mercedes Benz S Class, the BMW 7 Series, the Audi A8, they all seem to be the go-to luxury cars even at this budget. Because they're the go-to luxury cars, they're hardly underrated as such, so therefore they don't qualify for this list. Also, luxury for us doesn't mean it necessarily has to be wearing a fancy brand name. Luxury in car terms just means it needs to exude great comfort and elegance. So we're expecting at least a leather upholstery, refined driving dynamics, and a classy aesthetic. But remember, these aren't necessarily the best luxury cars under $15,000, just the most underrated ones. So without further ado, kicking things off, it's the Honda Legend, or if you're watching this from the States, the Acura RL. Since 1985, the Legend has been Honda's flagship road car, offering more space and comfort than the already spacious and comfortable Accord models. For the 15,000 Aussie dollar budget, you're going to be looking at either 1995 to 2004 third gen models, or the slightly shorter and swoopier 05 to 2012 fourth gen Legend or RL. The third gen Legend is arguably the more overt luxury car of these two generations, with its almost E-Class Mercedes-inspired exterior design. But both the third and fourth gen Legends offer a genuine luxury car experience with an emphasis on providing a luxurious sense of style, refinement, and driving experience. Powered by a silky smooth V6, either as a 3.5 or 3.7 litre, depending on the year model, some consumers were hesitant at a car this size providing power to the front wheels only. And maybe this is one of the reasons that the Legend is so often overlooked. But Honda listened, and as of the fourth generation Legend, introduced four-wheel drive technology on the Legend, called Super Handling All-Wheel Drive, helping the Legend earn the Japanese Car of the Year award. We should also mention that the 226 kilowatt, 370 Newton meter, 3.7 litre V6 engine in the later 4th gen Legend was one of the most powerful naturally aspirated V6 engines available in Australia, and with all-wheel drive, at the time, makes the Legend almost the ultimate wolf in sheep's clothing. But in saying that, some earlier Legends with the 3.5 litre did have a few mechanical issues, but these days, the ones still working hopefully show that these issues have been resolved. Interior-wise, both the third and fourth gen Legends are drenched in high-quality leather, they're trimmed with wood grain, and feature copious levels of equipment and features. Plus, being a Honda, the overall build quality is exceptional, and with the majority of owners being on the more mature side, and at the same time being in the minority of consumers that appreciate the Legend's superb set of skills, the majority of Honda Legends on the used market will hopefully have been cared for and maintained correctly. Pricing here in Australia kicks off from around about $5,000 for high kilometre third gen examples, and tops out at around about $15,000 for excellent condition fourth gen cars. We should mention as well a Honda Legend with a smart set of almost European styled aftermarket wheels and maybe just the tiniest drop in ride height just adds to the whole luxury car aesthetic. Okay, next up, and depending on where you're watching this from, this might be called the Daewoo Veritas or maybe the Buick Park Regal, but here in Australia, it's simply the Holden Caprice. Okay, yes, the Caprice is certainly not the most internationally available car on the list. And look, yes, if you are watching this from the US, you're right. That is a Chevrolet Caprice police car. And you're also right, they are hardly luxury cars in law enforcement trim. But on this side of the globe, and also in the Middle East, the Caprice is essentially the long wheelbase and more luxurious version of our Holden Commodore. Or Statesman, if we're getting technical. The Statesman is the long wheelbase Commodore, and the Caprice is the luxury Statesman. That makes sense, yeah? The Caprice nameplate has been around since 1990, but for this budget, the Caprice that we're referring to is the third generation 2006 to 2017 WM. Yes, there are earlier models available at this budget, but all but the most fastidiously maintained examples are beginning to really feel their age. WM Caprice pricing, it kicks off from around about $8,000, but for that, you're going to be getting a 6-cylinder model that has had a hell of a life. which we'll get to in a sec. But spend a little bit more and you might just get yourself into one of the fantastic V8s. And there is something just so right about a Caprice having a V8 under the bonnet. In terms of actual luxury, look, when new, the quality of fit and finish you would have found in, say, an Audi, a BMW or Mercedes would have been far higher than that of our homegrown Holden. But as the Holden was engineered almost specifically for our Aussie conditions and is just a simpler machine in terms of the mechanicals and technology, many argue that in the long run, the Caprice will show far better longevity when compared to its European rivals. Plus the cost of parts, maintenance and even labour should be substantially less as well. But look, don't think for a second that the Caprice is deprived of luxurious features. You'll still be cosseted in a spacious full leather interior highlighted with a smattering of wood grain trim, and you'll end up with all of the period correct toys that you ever would have needed when these things were new. However, there is a warning. See, many Caprice, Veritas and even Park Regals have been used as hire cars and limousines during their lives, and we'd be extremely cautious of buying one of these because these vehicles, they do tend to lead harder lives. Okay, next up, it is another car that might not be the most internationally available, technically speaking, but they are popping up more and more thanks to the great import car scene. It's the Toyota Crown. While Mercedes has the S Class and BMW the 7 Series as their flagship cars, the world's biggest car company has the Crown. Now at this price point, the Crowns that you're going to be looking at will most likely be the 12th generation S180 models from 2004 to 2008. And look, yes, technically these were a Japanese release only car, but again, thanks to the grey import scene, more and more are making their ways to international markets. Also, in the same way that the S Class and the 7 Series are available across a range of variants within the model lineup, the Crown features 3 distinct levels of luxury and appointments. Kicking off with the Crown Royal, that while used commonly in Japan as a taxi, still features a vast array of luxury equipment, stepping up to the sportier Crown Athlete that also increases the levels of materials and features, and then it tops out with the Crown Majesta, which being the flagship variant of Toyota's flagship model, features the highest quality materials and the maximum amount of toys and features. Plus, it's the only Crown to be packing a V8, while the Royal and Athlete have got to make do with the V6. Also speaking of the S Class and 7 Series, the Crown actually features the largest interior when compared to its German rivals, and many argue that the levels of fit, finish and longevity, now that these are a few years old, potentially actually outdo the Merc and the BMW. Now I've personally never driven or been driven in a Crown, but from all reports, and from what we've been told, even the driving experience gives the more obvious S Class and 7 Series option a run for their money, at least in terms of the feeling of luxury on the road. Pricing wise, high kilometre and average condition Crown Royals kick off from as little as $7,000, but we'd be pushing the $15,000 budget just a little bit and haggling our way into either an Athlete or a Majesta to really embrace real luxury. I will admit, on the standard wheels, they can look a little bit underwhelming, but fit some quality aftermarket rims, and these things can look very impressive. Next up, it's a car that is actually quite closely related to the Toyota Crown. It's the Lexus LS430. Not only is the LS430 an underrated luxury car, it must surely be one of the most underrated Lexus models. And on the used market, and for those looking for a luxury on a budget, you really can't go wrong with the flagship Lexus. Luxury-wise, even though, and depending on the year model you're looking at, the LS430 is pushing 20 years old, thanks to Lexus using premium quality materials and exhibiting their usual incredible levels of fit and finish, the LS430 still provides a sumptuous cabin. Okay, sure, from a design aspect, inside and out, it clearly isn't current, and it may not have landed in retro cool just yet, but inside, the design team took inspiration from rooms of luxury hotels such as the Ritz-Carlton and the Imperial Hotel. Even some of the design cues for the seats were taken from those fitted to first-class cabins on airlines such as British Airways and Japan Airlines. Even features-wise, look, yes, the LS430 is getting on in age, but, and again, depending on the spec, it can feature heated and cooled front seats, power reclining massage rear seats with audio controls, power-assisted door and boot closers, power sunshades, a cooler box, and even an air purifier. Driving-wise, the LS430, it exudes luxury. Powered by a silky smooth 4.3-litre V8 that effortlessly produces as much as 216 kilowatts and 434 newton meters of torque, all being sent to the rear wheels via a torque-activated electronic control unit that makes throttle adjustments based on the vehicle's speed, engine revolutions per minute, and pedal positions. Even the suspension was completely redesigned to provide the most comfortable and controlled ride possible, and the levels of driving and interior tech, they're still genuinely impressive. To get behind the wheel on a permanent basis these days, here in Australia, pricing currently kicks off from around about $8,000. But the closer that you get to that $15,000 budget, the more recent and better condition, and therefore, the more luxurious the LS430 should be. Now, before we get to our final contender, which I'm pretty sure is going to create a bit of a stir, if you're enjoying this video, can you please hit the like, subscribe, and bell buttons? And if you're enjoying ReDriven, share ReDriven as much as you can. We just want to keep making car content for you guys, and the only way we can do that is with your support. Hitting those buttons and sharing our content, that's all the support we need. Righto, okay, our final contender. Now, look, when we reached out to our car industry expert friends and asked them what they thought the most underrated luxury cars under $15,000 were, they kept saying this suggestion, and we kind of disagreed for a while until we did more research, and now we're converted. We agree. Taking this list out, it's luxury vans or people movers. We know the likes of the Nissan L Grand and a variety of Toyota options like the Alphard Executive Lounge or Royal Lounge and the Grand Via and the Grand Hiace. They don't exactly pop to mind instantly when thinking of luxury cars. But think of it this way. If you want a luxury car, chances are it has to be spacious. With these options, that's guaranteed. You want a luxurious interior. Well, with the right variants, say the XL or Autech VIP in the L Grand, you'll be wrapped in leather everywhere. And in terms of the Toyotas, some even feature captain's chairs. Nothing says luxury like a captain's chair. Then in terms of the luxurious appointments, depending on the model and spec, such features as massaging chairs, first-class flight-style stowaway tables, 18-speaker home theatre-style surround sound systems, and even a divider between the rear passengers and the front seats, as in a limousine, are available. In terms of the driving experience, look, as these vehicles were designed from scratch to be people movers, they are not only comfortable pretty much all of the time, in the higher spec luxury models, the ride quality and the power delivery can be genuinely silky smooth and supremely quiet. Pricing wise, here in Australia, and again depending on which van / people mover that you're looking at, the higher spec, more luxurious models, they rarely creep under $12,000, and even $15,000 won't exactly open up a world of options. But with some hunting and haggling, you can land yourself in a very luxurious transport option, and one that is all too often overlooked or completely ignored. Okay, like a few of the other cars on this list, in standard form, they're maybe not the coolest looking things out there, but again, fit some quality aftermarket wheels and they can be transformed. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and what did you think of the list? Actually, what makes up your top 5 underrated luxury cars under $15,000? Let us know in those comments. Oh, remember, can you please hit those like, subscribe, and bell buttons and share ReDriven as much as you can? That would be awesome. See you guys next time. So, without further ado, what is it? Both the Park Regal, Buick Park Regal, not Grand Regal, you dickhead. Plus the cots of You'll still be cosseted in a spacious, full leather interior, highlighted, powered by a silky smooth 4.3-litre V8 that effortlessly. Why do I write these things? If you want a luxury car, chances